Daryl Ayers, a number 6 overall seed. Hey, at least Shaheen gets to play first, so Thoughtseize is pretty good on the play.
Yeah, it's going to be on the play. But he doesn't have it. Starts out on just a flooded strand as we are underway. For Daryl, he has a gamble. At least it wasn't exploration. When you look at the early interaction on Shaheen's side, he has 4 Thoughtseize, but doesn't have spell pierces. None of that, some of that soft permission can actually get leverage against lands. If you can daze or spell pierce their exploration or their Mox Diamond, it's pretty good. But Shaheen has the bigger kind of counter magic, and that's not going to play very well here.
Now, one thing to note right now, Daryl Ayers is on a 5-card hand. He had to mulligan a couple of times here. Shaheen going to search up a basic island with his Flooded Strand, see if he has some sort of counter spell or not. But he's giving that deck a pretty healthy shuffle. Of course, we do have updates for you guys on our other results. One, you can find them on Twitter at SCG Live, as Nick Miller will be tweeting them live for you. But also, we'll be letting you know, too, as Shaheen's going to cast a Brainstorm.
I mean, his counter suite is 3 Force of Wills and 1 counter spell. And that's actually all he has to counter here. He's eschewed a lot of his counter spells for discard and then for resilient threats like Lingering Souls.
The Brainstorm here, he's going to put away at least 1 Supreme Verdict. And I think a Source of Plowshares was the other one. It looks like a gamble is resolving. So 5 cards. We'll see what Ayers will have to discard. It will be a Windswept Heath. And we're going to go over to Soorani.
Almost certainly, as we see here, gamble, I would assume, is for Life from the Loam.
Yep, that's typically the case.
Now, the difficulty here is even if Shaheen has a counterspell, the card counterspell that is, for Life from the Loam, he doesn't have Graveyard Hate to go with it. Nothing like a Deathrite Shaman. So Daryl will just get to continue trying for Life from the Loam. That said, Shaheen's one of counterspell in the main, right on cue to get that exploration.
Hey, that's why he plays it, and he's going to search up. It looks like another basic island because he wants to be wasteland proof. You see Daryl's second land is a Maze of Ith, which does not tap for mana. So he did mulligan a 5, and he, technically is a land in Maze of Ith. It just doesn't tap for any mana. So Daryl's got to find another land that actually does tap for mana so he can start his Loam engine.
And it kind of makes you wonder whether or not Daryl gambled for that exploration. If he had the last turn he played gamble off of Grove of the Burn Willows, and you'd think if he had exploration in his hand at the time, he just would have gone for a turn 1 exploration instead.
Shaheen in the draw step is going to play Vendilion Click, Life of the Loam, Punishing Fire, Mana Bond, and Maze of Ith. And I actually, I actually don't know what you're supposed to do here.
Because you wanted whether you're supposed to take Punishing Fire or Life from the Loam?
Yeah, I guess Punishing Fire isn't, Punishing Fire is a problem, but he's already got Maze of Ith, so the Vendilion Click is already checked, so I just kind of want to take the Life from the Loam. It's the most important card in the deck anyway.
The deck does not function particularly well without Life from the Loam. This is really it's one of Vendilion Click is your only way to get rid of that card, but it's also your only way to get rid of Punishing Fire when Grove is in play.
Yeah, Daryl's going to draw that land. It's a Wooded Foothills, which is going to turn on his Life in the Loam. He's able to cast it and get 2 lands back in Wooded Foothills and Windswept Heath. So a good draw there off the Vendilion Click trigger.
And Shaheen going to take a read on Mana Bond. That one, at the end of turn, Daryl would get the option to discard his entire hand and put all the land cards into play. Does quite a number with Life from the Loam. Now the loaming begins. 2 fetch lands back into Daryl's hand.
Yeah, this is what it's all about for the lands deck. Daryl's finally gotten going, even though he had a little bit of a stumble out of the gate. Supreme Verdict, the draw here for Shaheen. Not particularly good, but we'll see what Shaheen is up to because he very quickly sacrificed that Marsh Flats.
I wonder if that's a Jace. That's what he would like it to be.
Yeah.
It's rare that he gets up to 4 lands and can get a Jace in play. Once he does, that can be very difficult for Daryl. He doesn't actually have ways to remove Jace. He has to burn it down with Punishing Fires eventually. See Shaheen on all basics. He's got some resiliency to Daryl's lock pieces.
I think this might be a Jace. Yep.
And don't even have to ask what that's
No. If you've seen Shaheen play with Jace before, that baby's not Fate Seal.
I saw yesterday, if you missed it, they said the greediest Brainstorm. Time Machine afterwards said, there's 1 card in his deck that matters, literally 1. And he wasn't in his hand, and you chose to Brainstorm.
That's right. Hey, he knows what he likes to do. Here's Mana Bond. Daryl going to sacrifice Wooded Foothills. He'll search up a land, he'll loam again, and then he'll probably trigger Mana Bond. Again, triggering Mana Bond is a you may. You don't have to do it every turn. But if you do it, as you mentioned, you have to discard your entire hand. Lands will come to the battlefield, the rest will get discarded.
Daryl probably will do it. The one thing is that Shaheen's going to get a lot of Jace activations because how this game is paced out. The question on the land side is if any of the Jace activations will matter. You see Daryl.
All the lands on the battlefield now.
It's a very 4 lands into playoff Mana Bond.
Quick update for you guys as Shaheen's going to prepare to take his turn. Dylan Donegan does win game number 1 over Jake Podolski. So Grixis Delver very quickly up a game over Reanimator. Shaheen going to play a Brainstorm now.
Donegan just on a tear with that deck to this tournament.
Both these players having a heck of a day too with their respective archetypes.
Daryl and Shaheen having to fight until the last round. Donegan was the first player to lock his top 8 slot, 12-1 record, got to coast in on the last 2 rounds.
Yeah, made it look pretty easy.
Two mazes.
Shaheen gonna sacrifice a Flooded Strand, shuffle away with the Brainstorm. Looks like he's got some interest in searching up non-basics now.
The worry here is that despite the fact that Shaheen has a lot of cards, maybe he could even Fate Seal with a Jace, is that because Daryl will likely spend every turn loaming life, using life from the loam, he's more or less drawing 3 cards a turn.
Yep.
And so the cards that count are any land he flips over, and in addition to that, and here's the relevant one, any Punishing Fire he flips over. And once he starts flipping Punishing Fires, he's going to be able to burn down that Jace. In the meantime, he's not taking any damage. 2 Maze of Us is more than enough to keep Vendilion Clique at bay.
Shaheen gonna Brainstorm again. You have to imagine he's looking for something specific.
Some Lingering Souls could work. That'd be pretty good against Mazovitz.
Yep.
And he'd like them quickly. Once Daryl has milled into 2 Punishing Fires, I think that's what will put it out of reach for Shaheen. Be just too much repeatable removal.
Shaheen gonna play Dig Through Time now. So he's incorporated that card into his deck. He'll take a look at the top 7, and of course, take 2 with him. Batter Skull among those cards, Source of Plowshares as well.
Yeah, and I think he's going for Lingering Souls because when you look at how he can actually win here, remember Shaheen's a deck without Wastelands, those Mazovitz are just trouble. It's either through a swarm of Lingering Souls tokens, or it's actually through ultimating Jace the Mind Sculptor, which that play just kind of seems out of Shaheen's range. It would require him to skip a lot of Brainstorms.
Yeah, given how much he likes to Brainstorm with Jace. Here's Stoneforge Mystic.
Interesting. So he actually had the option to cast Lingering Souls? Oh no, he's a mana short, but he did find one off that dig.
Here's a Dredge. No Punishing Fire yet.
Just to grow over the Burn Willows. Another loam.
The one card that Daryl really wants to find too in this dredging is Tranquil Thicket, so he can go completely off.
So Tranquil Thicket is cycles for 1 green, which especially now that he has multiple life from loams, he could start, instead of just dredging 3 cards a turn, he can start dredging 6.
Shaheen will draw. Another copy of Source of Plowshares. A dead one in this matchup. Or close to it.
And this is a game that if Shaheen can somehow steal game 1 here, that is so relevant in this matchup. Games 2 and 3, he's got a reasonable shot. This is a game that by all accounts, Shaheen is supposed to lose.
Yes. The first game is very hard. Oh my. The Fate Seal. He'll leave that card on top. I can't believe my eyes.
Well, I mean, he has to win the game somehow. That is one of the ways to do it.
Now here's the Lingering Souls. 2 Spirit Tokens on the way.
Now eventually he'll get some damage. Remember that Daryl does play a copy of the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale, so when he finds that one off his dredges, then Shaheen will have to pay quite the price for all these 1/1s.
No Punishing Fire or Shot in Port. Loam will be cast. Portal enter the battlefield. Another update for you as Shaheen does put Batter Skull and Germ Token onto the battlefield. Jeremy Denman does win game number 1 over Bryant Cook. So Teamer Delver up a game over Storm. That's our 2 versus 7. Shaheen going to sacrifice a polluted Delta, get a land out of his deck. Maybe looking to clear with Jace a little bit. Draws a Marsh Flats. 17 apiece, the life totals here.
Yeah, and both their decks so blank here because of the lack of interaction. Shaheen would like to find more Lingering Souls. And we already know that Daryl's priority list is Punishing Fire 1, Tranquil Thicket 2. That's about it. Maybe Tabernacle 3.
Tabernacle actually be pretty good. Caracas the find here. There is an interaction here with Caracas and Vendilion Click, but oddly enough, I don't think it's particularly good. And the reason I say that is because if you're Shaheen, you don't really want to Vendilion Click Daryl anymore. You know, if Daryl dredges a loam, and you say, okay, I'll Vendilion Click that, well, Daryl has another loam in his graveyard.
Yeah,
so,
you're just drawing him a card.
Yeah, you're drawing him 3 cards, right? Because he'll just dredge again.
Sure.
So you're actually going to get him deeper into his deck and deeper and closer to the cards that we're mentioning that really matter right now, which are Punishing Fire, Tranquil Thicket, things of that nature. So it feels like to me you actually kind of want to stay away from that if you can.
Shaheen will flashback Lingering Souls. He pushed 3 damage last turn. He will be able to push 5 on the next.
Tranquil Thicket is 1.
That's big. Punishing
Good
Fire
boy.
2.
Dark Depths is 3.
Now things are getting interesting.
Yep.
Daryl's turns are about to get supercharged here.
And for Daryl, he, you know, if I'm in his spot, and you can certainly tell this from his body language, never really panicked at this point. He's drawing 3 cards a turn virtually. So he's going to find what he's looking for, which was Punishing Fire and or Tranquil Thicket. He found them both in one dredge, and now he gets to really get to work.
So one of the reasons Shaheen cares about this Caracas, just for the record, is that Merit Lage is one of the plays for Daryl, and the Caracas will take that one away, at least until Daryl gets a Wasteland.
Yep. Cycle Tranquil Thicket. Dredge. A Wasteland. A Thespian Stage, a Mana Bond.
And with that Mana Bond in play, remember, every land Daryl gets here, he'll get to put all of them into play at the end of the turn.
Mm-hmm. He gets to go absolutely nuts. See, when lands first hit the scene a long time ago, well, first of all, it had to play cards like Mulch. But that was just, it was really a deck that just wanted to dump a lot of lands in the graveyard. It played a lot of cycling lands. It played Forgotten Cave and Tranquil Thicket. And it wanted to have turns like this mostly, which was cycle, dredge, cast loam, cycle, dredge, cast loam, build up my hand, trigger Mana Bond, dump everything into play. That was really the goal of the deck. It certainly evolved because now it's a 36 land, 24 spell deck.
There we go. 4 more lands into play on Daryl's end step. Now he has Dark Depths and Thespian Stage. And a Wasteland. So he has the ability to waste the Caracas and then make a 20/20.
Also threatening the ability to start going to work with Punishing Fire.
Right. The danger there, so the danger is that he can't actually make the 20/20. So what do we care about when he makes it? She has a fair number of answers. Caracas, the Jace -1 will take care of it. But you're right. So many lands in play, a Punishing Fire in the graveyard. Sheen can just shoot down these spirits. And lands has never been about how does he win the game. The question that you always have to think about how the land's opponent can win the game. And with all these Punishing Fires about to happen, Shaheen is going to run out of ways to win.
Yep. A Wasteland looks like it's going to be activated. Likely targeting Caracas. Yep. That'll clear the path for a Dark Depths token, we believe.
Yeah, well, Shaheen, Shaheen swung all the spirits instead of leaving one back here.
Here's
Which is
Snapcaster
dangerous.
Maze of Ith is going to be activated a couple times here. While Daryl finishes up this combat, Josh Pellrine, who is playing Omnitel, up a game over Michael Dirksa, who is playing Death and Taxes, so #1 overall seed. Life is pretty good when you're on the play. Another update here is Jake Moldowski with his Reanimator deck, able to tie things up against Dylan Donegan and his Grixis Delver deck. So they're headed to a third game.
That one can be so play draw dependent. We've seen both games go toward the person going first.
Punishing Fire is going to start going after Spirit Tokens.
Yeah, you see despite the fact that Daryl could make a 20-20, there is no rush here. He's simply just trying to build on his prison strategy, take away Shaheen's win conditions, kill the Spirit Tokens, kill enough creatures so that he's no longer taking damage, then burn down the Jace.
I see for Daryl, this is him using his life total as a resource. His life total isn't low enough that he has to really panic.
Wasteland will take care of Shaheen's lands.
Yeah, slowly but surely.
Port will take care of the other lands.
Yep, start bottlenecking those resources.
It's just, yeah.
For some reason, I loved this deck for, like 6 months. I loved lands.
It's kind of addictive how you can close them off on every front.
It's just so unique. If you've been playing Magic, it's just kind of creatures and attacking and spells and stuff, and then you see this deck that I don't have any creatures or anything really. My lands do all this stuff, and then everything is built around getting a bunch of lands into play. It's super cool. It's a very, very unique deck. Shaheen's going to play Dig Through Time. He's also going to take a look at Thespian Stage, make sure he knows how this works. Of course, it's a combo with Dark Depths, and it can do a little bit more than that, too.
Just wants to check on that one.
So he's done delving away the cards for Dig Through Time. Now he's going to actually resolve Dig Through Time. See if he can find some cards that he likes.
Another Lingering Souls was in there. We'll help him replace the ones as Daryl shoots them down. Maybe Shaheen can deploy 1/1s faster than Daryl can kill them. Daryl has not found Tabernacle yet, which is very important.
So here's the thing. We're going to see how this game plays out, of course. But, we've talked about Shaheen and his Telemann performance quite a bit, and if he would be able to get to 5 or 7 mana, well, this particular game is at 7 mana right now.
He would be able to do it this game. And it's not impossible, as Shaheen does have 4 basics. So it would require some combination of Daryl's porting and wastelanding. But remember that Daryl's start was not very quick here. Had that turn 1 exploration resolved, I don't think Shaheen would have ever gotten to this number.
What's interesting, too, is that Shaheen is not... he's breezing through his deck with Dig Through Times and Jaces and all this stuff and Brainstorms. So he'll be able to find it, it appears, and Daryl's got to stop him from doing that. Now, as you mentioned, Daryl did not get off to a great start this game. He's catching up, and he's actually doing a pretty nice job of it as he's starting to dredge loam and cast it multiple times a turn, thanks to Tranquil Thicket. And he's starting to fire away with the Punishing Fires. I believe he'll be able to catch up during this game as he gets back another Maze of Ith, but he's got to be careful. Punishing Fire is back.
Yeah, just 1 Punishing Fire in the graveyard right now.
Shoot down Vendilion Click. Get back Punishing Fire. Shoot down Snapcaster Mage. Pass the turn back.
He's just getting the creatures with the highest power. You see now 3 Maze of Iths.
That'll check 3 cards.
Yep, just 2 damage coming across.
Council's Judgment was the draw. Shaheen's going to Brainstorm again. Found a copy of Engineered Explosives. But at this point, Ayers is not loaming so much as he is just casting Punishing Fire, clearing up the board. Then he'll go back to loaming.
Yeah, he did have the option to say cycle Tranquil Thicket for additional loams, but he's giving priority to Shaheen's creatures at the moment. Also, when he's loaming, giving a low priority to Wasteland right now.
Do have to be slightly concerned if you're Daryl just about deck size. It's not, I don't think it's playing a role in things right now, but this deck does breeze through itself pretty quickly. You're doing a lot of dredging, a lot of cycling Tranquil Thicket, more dredging, so you just want to be a little careful.
Yeah, and we are you know, Shaheen's running out of resources. He's got Daryl to 10.
There's Council's Judgment. I suppose going after just Mana Bond.
Yeah.
Better to have it off the table than on it, so.
There's that. He could also, I mean, I still feel that the pressure's on Shaheen to just make more Lingering Souls here. It seems like the only card that's mattering. Shaheen tries to attack in. We saw this before. Daryl has 3 of the 5 creatures covered. We'll still take 2.
That looks like 2 damage will come across.
We already saw, though, with the lands he has and the Punishing Fire, Daryl's able to kill 2 creatures a turn. So unless Shaheen makes more Lingering Souls or something else here, maybe goes for a counter spell, he will no longer be able to push damage.
There's Lingering Souls. Gonna need a white mana for that. There we go. 2 more spirits pass the turn back. Ayers gonna untap all those lands. He'll dredge. And see, it appears Daryl has shifted his graveyard from non-relevant cards to relevant cards. The relevant cards being Life in the Loam, Punishing Fire, Dark Depths, Wasteland, stuff like that. Make things a little bit easier on himself.
Remember, Daryl can only play 1 land a turn now. Does not have an Exploration or a Mana Bond.
Yep. Got to slow down a touch. Picking up Punishing Fire.
Go back to shooting some creatures.
Mm-hmm.
There's 1 spirit. There's another spirit. He'll take 2 more, though, and drop to 6.
Just chipping away. There's a Wasteland. Mesa should have been untapped by Daryl on his upkeep, so that is fixed now. Here comes Shaheen again. He'll Maze of Ith, Stoneforge Mystic token, and Batter Skull. 2 damage comes across. Daryl down to 6. Can Shaheen make more Lingering Souls tokens?
At least 2 more. If he can make 4 more this turn, that would be very relevant. Needs to brainstorm. He does have a 3rd Lingering Souls. Can he brainstorm his way to it? Been given plenty of life thanks to these multiple activations of Grove of the Burn Willows.
There's Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah, I actually like Stoneforge Mystic. It's a creature and it's a shuffle.
Yep.
And he's looking for both right now.
I think he may have grabbed the GT out of his deck there. Flashback Lingering Souls. 2 more Spirit tokens.
Shaheen still has a chance here.
He does. He'll discard GT, pass the turn back.
No Loam Dredge from Daryl, just draws a card. His draw, though, is Punishing Fire.
Yeah, I think it's so much more about Punishing Fire right now than it is Life in the Loam, that he just wants to make sure that everything that he does involves Punishing Fire. So we'll start here. Activate, get it back.
When you have this many Grove of the Burn Willows, having multiple Punishing Fires doesn't actually speed much up.
Mm-hmm. Fire away.
And keep at it. You see him not using Wasteland even.
Cycle Tranquil Thicket.
Yeah, just drawing off the top of his deck right now. Assuming that he's trying to hit something like an Exploration again.
Didn't get a great look at it. Doesn't appear to be particularly helpful.
Probably just, some land.
Fire away. Shaheen gonna sacrifice a polluted delta.
His counter magic's not getting any better.
Yeah.
He may start countering some of these Punishing Fires. He's got Daryl low.
He has a Snapcaster Mage. Oh my goodness. He can Snapcaster Mage counter.
Yeah. Adds another creature to the board.
Yep.
And Shaheen was very careful to wait until the last Punishing Fire to do this so that Daryl could not Punishing Fire down the 2-1. But Shaheen untaps with 7 creatures. There's 3 Maze of It. This is 4 damage getting through.
Take down the biggest ones. 4 damage. Daryl's down to 2.
Shaheen might pull this out. That would be incredible.
So is Daryl on the hunt for like the Tabernacle now, or is Glacial Chasm? We're gonna Fate Seal, top card to the bottom. I think Shaheen might have a counter spell in his hand. I'm not. Here's a Thoughtseize.
Daryl has some lands.
Yep. Shaheen's got plenty left to work with and mana, just to check that out. Time for Daryl to untap everything. Draw a card.
Thespian Stage, that I don't believe that will do it.
Already had one of those. Stage the land he'll play for the turn.
He has 3 Punishing Fires worth of mana.
Shaheen has a Force of Will in his hand that can counter something. Either a Punishing Fire, maybe a Electric Loam, what have you.
Well, there's 7 creatures. Yeah, I mean, that Force of Will should do it because Daryl can kill 3 creatures. That leaves Shaheen. He can kill 3 and maze 3, which would leave Shaheen with 1. So Force of Will would leave Shaheen with 2, and that would be 2 damage.
Snapcaster Mage down. Shaheen not even considering picking a fight there. Return. Punishing Fire via Grove. Fire away again. Shaheen thinking about that Force of Will, but he doesn't have to move yet. Let's see what this is going to be.
Yeah, well, the way Daryl has tapped, he can't return Punishing Fire and shoot it again unless one of those Thespian Stages has been set to a colored mana.
It has been.
Okay.
Yep. Shaheen going to dig through time. Find another copy of Force of Will.
Yeah, and Daryl's just got to assume that Shaheen has a Force of Will, so maybe this first game goes over to Shaheen.
There's Force of Will, countering Punishing Fire. Pass the turn back. Daryl's going to threaten to make a 20-20 here. There's a land, everybody.
Yeah. He's going to, threaten to make the 20-20. That's just as good as killing a creature.
Yep.
But that one can't be countered. So did Shaheen...
No, I mean, Daryl just loses. Yeah. 2 tokens still get through. So he's fine. And Shaheen Soorani is going to win game number 1 here over Daryl Ayers. Esper Stoneblade is going to win game number 1 here over lands as the last 2 damages able to get through. Shaheen crafted a plan, saw it through.
Yeah, and I wonder from Daryl's side, you feel like the trap slipped a bit there. You know, maybe early on he's supposed to crop rotate for a Tabernacle instead in anticipation of the Lingering Souls Shaheen hasn't cast. There's a lot of, it's difficult to say.
So, I mean, the game just didn't really come together very well due to a mulligan to 5, so. You know, he got his engine going. It just took a little while to get going, and then Lingering Souls somehow, some way, continues to get the job done here this weekend, though no one else is playing it but Shaheen. So we're going to take a look at the sideboards here. Okay, well, we have an interesting thing that has taken place here. So we're gonna come back to the booth.